Welcome to the Global Village podcast again on the wonderful morning of Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. My name is Matt Capiello, calling in from California. I am happy to welcome Dr. Mike Ghouse, social scientist, writer, author, and the head of the Center for Pluralism. We are very excited to speak with Mike. We've known him for many years. On my left, we have Ruby Amatullah. She's an author and writer, head of Women for Good Governance in Bangladesh, and a former board member of Muslims for Peace, Justice, and Progress. I anticipate a fantastic discussion. Hello, Mike.
Hey, sir. Good to be here with you.
All right, so we have the subject heavy on everybody's mind this fall: American Muslims in the United States. We have Zohran Mamdani running for governor of New York. We have the Trump administration continuing its assault on the rights of ordinary Americans and the diversity of Americans. So it's kind of a crisis time in the United States for the identity of American Muslims. Now, we are used to crisis time, but Mike, just getting your initial thoughts. Do you think that American Muslims are in crisis mode now? Do you think it's bad as people are saying?
No, we are all living our day-to-day normal life. Yes, if you hear the TV, you see the crisis mode, but nothing is going to happen to any Muslim unless they're criminals this with this administration. Otherwise, we are all fine and safe.
Now, I mean, you see like Stephen Miller on TV, and he'll reference certain books which are almost like dog whistles for various anti-immigrant social movements. Like they'll mention books like Camp of the Saints. They'll mention certain, French philosophers and other stuff uh, where it's worrisome that nativist sentiment is on the rise again. You think that's a little bit overblown?
No, I think it is fearsome because they are implementing some of the laws. Immigrants are rounding up the illegal immigrants or undocumented aliens, and they are doing it. And the ICE is going taken that woman from Syria. She was doing her research in Harvard. They took her to Guatemala prison there, and this is all happening. Yes, we need to be concerned, but not if you are living a normal life.
Now, Ruby, as one might say that you're a Muslim who has lived a normal American life for many decades. You lived in America from your 20s onward. You raised your children out here. When you see stuff like this, do you see a difference in tone nowadays from how Muslims are perceived compared to, the 1980s and the 1990s when you were a Muslim in Minneapolis raising your kids? Do you see a difference in tone nowadays?
No, I see a very different America and different, very different politics, horrible politics. I have never seen in 30, 40 years that this kind of degradation, this kind of absolutely dysfunctional democracy. I mean, this is amazing that I'm talking about America, dysfunctional democracy. Some people are even saying that, scholars and intellectuals, that it is already an oligarchy and already an authoritarian state. But I have a great feeling. I have confidence of from history of the United States, that it is a self-correcting nation, and it has gone through a lot of difficult times in the past. I think that depression time in 1930s and civil war, for example, whether the country will even stay together, will be in one piece. So country has gone through a lot of challenges, a lot of tensions and crises, but somehow it has pulled together. I think there is I feel that the values and the ideas that was thrust upon by the founding leaders and the Declaration of Independence. I think that American people have looked back and again to these values, even though the ground was a lot different than the ideal that the founding leaders wanted to have. But I think the nation has always gone back to those ideals, tried, and history of 250 years is a struggle and change and all these things. But today, I think I see a degradation, a darkness, and the corruption, the sense of no sense of no moral compass in politics. I have not seen this kind of corruption. I have not seen this big money can change, dictate policies so much that America becomes a partner in a genocide. This is horrible thing. It is America is the oldest democracy in modern time, and it has gone through a trailblazing. It has started a trailblazing path, and its constitution still is the blueprint for democracy for the rest of the world. It was in 21st century, the half of the 21st century, particularly the leadership of Woodrow Wilson, leadership of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Those visionary people actually brought America in the center stage in the world. Before that, America was in the periphery, it was an isolationist country and all that. Those leaders saw America as part and parcel of the humanity, and they wanted a progressive agenda for the world, a win-win world, a democratic world, and freedom and human rights was their centerpiece. They have inspired countless people around the world.
And
I mean,
what
if you go back that time, and I will contrast this, my question and my frustration with this time is that how far we have gone down. How is it possible? And that is what I'm asking Mike, that we were in the 21st century. I mean, America was, especially the half of the 21st century, was a role model, was the natural leader of the world. The Marshall Plan was a diplomatic feat or visionary achievement of any time. I mean, it has shown that visionary steps and policies can change the world, and America was the leader of that. But from there, right now, America is a villain. Not only villain, it is a imperial evil, most evil imperial power, a partner in genocide. How evil you can get, so my question is that how the nation declined and why the people let it decline so low. That's my question to Mike.
It is very depressing, Ruby. The President Biden, I think he is the #1 criminal in society today. I have written many things about it. He declined 3 times for ceasefire. Had he done that, we would not have had so many deaths, over 60,000 deaths in Gaza, and also 2 million people homeless. It's a very difficult, painful thing every day to see the children being shot in their heads, limbs being blown up. This is very difficult. we are in a criminal empire right now. Not our United States of America is always a great nation, but the leadership is very criminal. Every day is very painful. What this idiot Biden could have done was when he saw the Crimea, sorry, in between Russia and the other nation. I'm losing the name. What he could have done is when the war broke out, he could have said, why don't you, Russia and the other guys, sit down together, figure out what the exact issue is, how can we solve it? Instead, this ugly man sends bombs and weapons to kill them. And I think he should be sued for the deaths of so many. I'm sorry, the nation, I forgot the name of the nation with Russia, fighting with Russia.
Ukraine.
Ukraine, I don't know how he
You're
lost
good.
that.
You're good.
And they should sue him for that. He should be put on the pedestal, and people should know that nobody can get away with murder. And he did get away with murder. And I was hoping Trump would put put him to task, but he's also doing the same thing. Then when Gaza broke out, he could have told Israel to back off. We cannot do this. On the one hand, the hypocrite says, we will not allow anybody to take over other countries' land. And he did in Israel and Gaza. So there are things wrong. And what I'm happy, small solace is that people are protesting all over the world. The protests are huge, but it is not affecting the administration, our administration. I don't know what can be done. Everybody is doing something to bring about a change. It's not happening. The only hope, Matthew, is November 2026. I think people are tired and sick of what's happening. Prices are going up. All the promises made are not there. People are living in constant tension. And I'm not talking about Muslims, I'm talking about all Americans. And this should stop. I believe people will bring more Democrats. Not that Democrats are any good. They also supported Biden for the war and destruction of Ukraine and Gaza. But at least there should be two oppositions. I hope the House would be Democrats and the other place would be Senates. That way they are fighting constantly. Nobody should have an easy way to approve the bills, approve the wars. It should be very difficult. They should fight it out. There should be discussions. We didn't have discussions with Biden. What a dictator he was.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I feel almost like the last few years have very depressingly shown the shattering of a lot of idols, the idols of neoliberalism, the idols of the stability of the new world order of NATO. It's shown how democracy is fragile. It's shown how the multilateral uh, uh, West diplomacy is quite fragile when it's challenged. So a lot of idols are being shattered. Now, I mean, it is still possible, in my opinion, that the global democracy could be rehabilitated, and it is possible that in the scope of what's happening in Palestine, in the scope of what's happening in Ukraine, that like a new alignment could emerge, which is positive for everybody. And I'm seeing with people from the Squad, with Zohran Mamdani's rise, with that American Muslims could actually be a part of that discussion. Do you guys think that American Muslims could paradoxically help to rehabilitate the United States?
Absolutely. Ruby, if you want to share first, I can go and finish. Absolutely. He is the new hope for America. Bernie Sanders gave a lot of hope. Unfortunately, he didn't go through. But Mamdani has got a big support. He's taken the subject, and he is one of the boldest leader ever produced in America who can say things like it is. And this is catching on. Other people will be inspired by him to say the righteous things, which are not going to be slaves to AIPAC. They're not corrupted, bribed by AIPAC. They will start speaking because what is right for America should be right. When Trump used the word America first, it was a joy, but it is not America first. It is Israel first now. And that is so wrong. And what they are doing, what is happening, these are the enemies of Trump, Biden are all enemies of Israel. They're not friends. What they have done has created the Jewish life very insecure. Any Jew, and now if they travel anywhere in the world, they feel insecure. Who did this? Biden. And now Trump is doing this. They're not friends of Israel. The Jews need to wake up and learn that we don't want friends like them. We need somebody who can care for all citizens, all nations, treat them equally. And then Jews will have final security if they are just to other people. Jewish people in America are supporting the right thing, but in Israel, 83% of Jews are supporting the idea of wiping out all the Palestinians, do the entire ethnic cleansing. And this crazy man, Netanyahu, has this wrong idea, and he's not going to succeed. Hitler thought of a greater Germany. Now he's thinking of greater Israel. Neither of them will succeed. I hope we are right on that. Someday people will wake up and stop them from doing this wrong. Otherwise, it is Jewish life going to be very insecure any place on the earth. They need to protect themselves from these evil men.
But Mike, the thing is that U.S. government is still under a stranglehold. What I'm saying is that AIPAC and hardliner Zionist, diehard Zionist groups in Wall Street and have made strong connections with military-industrial complex, and these two actually have established a stranglehold on the U.S. government. So to free the U.S. America from these things, I think the new generation politicians have to come up in large numbers, not slowly and this is where I would like to focus today, is that how we can motivate the young generation Muslim Americans, to play a critical role in reclaiming America in this critical time, in this crisis time, absolutely dark all around. I mean, think about the Congress, both houses of Congress under the grip, Zionist grip, AIPAC grip. So what is American government? American government is a puppet government of Israel. And what Israel? Israel, right now, Israeli government is doing a genocide, horrible genocide. 75 years it has been doing ethnic cleansing. In fact, history says even longer. It was 1 century old when Haganah was created, Irgun was created, and all that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that that kind of rogue state, that kind of pariah state, and the pariah word is not my word, it is the word of former Prime Minister of Israel.
And also,
Ehud Omar both.
Yes.
So the pariah state, how come this, I cannot even express it in words, how come this alliance is still misleading the people, even though I know the recent polls are saying 70% Americans want ceasefire or do not want to help Israel and stop arms shipment, all these things. But on the ground, is still they are dictating. The world is united in condemning rejecting Israel, what Israel is doing. And America is saying our alliance is not breakable. I mean, what is this? Tell me, what is this?
This is where Zohran Mamdani comes. He is the first one to say boldly in the interview that now my focus is America. New Yorkers, I'm going to focus on here. I'm going to stay here. He has given a venue for everybody to walk on. There are many Muslims now running for offices, including mayor's offices and congressmen, and they failed it. Some of the several members, I had interviewed them who ran for the US Congress. They couldn't make it, but it takes time. I think one of the things that Muslims need to do, speak mainstream, not talk about the interest of just Muslims, talk about America. Mamdani has paved the way. He's talking about Americans living in New York, their job security, their rents, their affordability. This is what Muslims need to start talking. He's a role model. If we start talking like that, then we will have an appeal. Look at Obama. Before Obama, Jesse Jackson and many other people ran for president, but they were talking somewhat about the interest of the Black people. Obama came and talked about the mainstream America.
Now,
the majority.
Now, like younger first generation Muslims, in my opinion, that they have struggles of their own, but they're kind of different struggles than the generation of their parents, many of whom were immigrants to the United States, many of whom had to overcome language barriers, racism, discrimination, poverty. How do you think the struggles of young Muslims are, especially first generation Muslims, are different than the struggles that their parents experienced?
They're doing exceptionally well. I can say that because I have done 571 weddings as of yesterday. These are all, majority of them are all Muslims, one of the Muslims. And they're all doctors, lawyers. Almost everyone is a doctor, lawyer, or a software engineer. And they're achieving some great roles and they're becoming role models every place. And it will take some more time. For the example, the Indian community, they have earned the respect in the US. They think I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but every Indian they think is a doctor because they go to a doctor who is Indian. Muslims have done it, especially the Pakistani Muslims have done a good job. Quite a lot of doctors changing, and all these young people are doctors and lawyers, and they are taking interest in the civic life. They're not just the first generation like us, focused mainly on making a living, buying a house, feeling secure, raising the children. We felt obligation that we have to do something for our children. We shouldn't. They will find their own way. So the new generation is focused on how can they make their lives better. And I am a lot of hopeful with the young generation. And they're marrying Jews, Christians, Hindus, good combinations. It will reduce the prejudices.
What I see is that, more than a decade ago, and since then, quite a few times, different surveys, but like Pew did extensive survey with the Muslim community, and at that time, it says that Muslim community is far above the main in education, in wealth, in their calibers and all that. I mean, more than much above than the mainstream Americans. And I'm not actually downgrading the mainstream Americans because they have always brought about the substantial change in the country. And they have, when they saw things went really wrong, they stood back and fought, and their struggle actually held this country so far. But what I'm trying to say is, there are a lot of bright and brilliant people, dedicated young generation people, but they have shied away from politics because what I have found out, I mean, it is my hunches and also having conversations with different people, that they shy away, seeing the corruption, seeing the big money that plays the role, and the campaign finance laws that are geared toward actually the elites and empowered elites and all that. They get scared, they got shied away from politics. How at this critical stage we can bring courage or say that, look, this kind of crisis actually brings also opportunities where you can stand up like Mamdani. Mamdani style is pattern, or the formula is very good formula, what I see. First of all, he is very courageous. I mean, he have been faced unthinkable challenges, like billionaires said, we'll spend as much money. Think about that. And then Donald Trump said, I am going to cut all the funding for the New York if he is elected, and all kinds of things. And he is just keep on going and going. And he's extremely popular. One thing is that Americans like courageous people. And this is what the Muslim Americans should note, that if you can stand up for values, for principles, Americans will vote for you, the mainstream Americans. This is what I would like to convey to them.
Ruby, you can open a classroom to train Muslims to be courageous, to speak mainstream. If you can do that, you have to come to US and start doing it. I think the America needs you. The Muslim Americans need you to bring about the change. Yes, Mamdani is a great model for every one of us.
Now, and yeah, it seems that with a lot of younger campaigns involving, I don't know, Zoomers or millennials or whoever, that even though money is one element, it seems that populism is another element of it. Whether it be social media clout or whether it be standing on your own principles, it seems like that stuff means just as much in terms of getting votes out for candidates. So it seems like money for a lot of these candidates might be a little less important, but money often gets you into the conversation in the first place. Now, do you think that so Muslims have a lot of money? Muslim Americans, they're often middle to upper class. There's no shortage of money there. Do you think that the fundraising priorities of the American Muslim community could be a little bit better? I'm not trying to call anybody out, but do you think that the priorities could be a little bit better in terms of fundraising? Do you think that they could support candidates more effectively? How do you feel about the political fundraising capabilities of the Muslim community in America?
We don't have the capabilities, but we need to develop. The Republican communities, they have schools actually in Washington, D.C. I'm sure they are all over the country. They train you how to raise funds. What does it take? I think we need to send our children to those classes just as a learning experience. Once they are in that class, they see how to raise funds. How does it work? They might be tempted to do something about it. I'm tempting my son to run. He's an eloquent speaker. He's good at it. He's got 3 kids. Hopefully, when the kids grow up a little bit more, he will join. I hope he joins. He runs for the public office. And I think fundraising is very important too. And I think that is where even me, Matt, I was going to run for mayor in Washington, D.C. about 6 years ago. I had several meetings in the Giants, the grocery store. They have a community room every place. I had meetings, over 50, 60 people attended, 3 different spots. Then my kidney failed. My energy dropped. I could not continue to do what I was doing. Uh, but that was my concern. How do I raise fund? Would I get this support? It was very discouraging. But yes, I took the classes, and I think we need to take the classes. It will pump us up to knowing that, yes, there are resources, we can do it. We should not be discouraged by not having the money or not knowing anybody. You don't need to know anybody.
I
I
would
tell
have
my wife,
loved to. I would have loved to say Mayor Mike Ghouse instead of Mayor Muriel Bowser. I would have been. I would have been so proud of you.
well, thank you.
I,
I'm I'm still hoping once I get my kidney transplanted, whenever I'm going to do it, I need to do it
I,
because in my city, the in a I mean in Washington D.C., the roads are very bad, potholes every place, and the some neighborhoods are not cared for, especially the lower income. Oh, I don't know if you can say lower income, the predominantly black neighborhood where I live. I chose to live in all black neighborhood. Uh, in my complex, I'm the only non-black. Uh, so it is there for us to do something, but I hope someday I get better to run for it. So there are solid ideas I got from the meetings I had with people, the town hall meeting kind. So there is enough. Every Washingtonian can relate with bad roads, potholes every place.
And now, in Ruby, you had worked often intimately with the American Muslim leadership in Washington, D.C. on various projects. Do you see a change in tone nowadays from back in the early 2000s in comparison during the Iraq War, even during the 2010s during Occupy Wall Street? Do you notice a change in tone nowadays with the American Muslim leadership?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
I'm sorry. So I thought you were asking Mike. Uh, um, well, what I lost that chain of thought. Actually, I was thinking. Um, I was thinking, if you don't mind, I think if the maybe answer may come through that. I mean, what I'm talking about is that I think that American Muslims, I mean, we should have very effective workshops of some kind of organized agenda of fill up a vacuum of the in the spirit of pluralism. That I sense that maybe younger generation is more receptive about the pluralism in Islam, and without this spirit of pluralism, I think the American uh, Muslims will not be good politicians and good leaders. And
Yes,
not only that, but I also think that they need to be able to connect with various groups, even with opposing ideas and all that, but alliances with various groups, because America is a diverse country, and you have to get connected with different groups and different factions of the society, and form alliances. This needs diplomacy. This needs a spirit of pluralism, constructive engagements, and all that. And I think that American young generations, I don't know how they are, I mean, whether they are up to the job, and whether maybe we need a grooming um, institutions and organizations and stuff like that.
I agree with that, Ruby. I agree with that. I think we need institutions. We need institutions, what you're talking about, to train Muslims to be mainstream Americans, which is being pluralist.
Now, and we had a conversation a week ago with Dr. Safi Kaskas, who is quite eloquent in distinguishing the true diversity of pluralism from the more basic or reductive conversations of diversity. Mike, you've wrestled with this word quite a bit. What does pluralism in Islam mean to you?
Respecting the otherness of the other. God created humanity. It's into the Quran. He could have created all of us exactly alike, like 7 feet tall men, 6 feet women, so much height, eyes, color same. He could have made us robots. He chose to create us to be unique beings, our own thumbprint, 8.5 billion people, 8.5 billion thumbprints, eye prints, DNA. That's how unique we are created. And that uniqueness, respecting that uniqueness in each other, is pluralism. Then God says in Surah Hujura that I placed you into different nations, tribes, communities, and I also say religions and ethnicities. And a few Muslims have difficulty when they say that extension. And then he says, this is very clear, the best one among you are those who take the time to learn or know each other. When you know each other, many conflicts go away, many myths we have about each other kind of disappear, and all of a sudden we connect with people. And something Jesus had said, when I was a stranger, you welcome me. What he's saying is, you are apprehensive when you go to a new neighborhood because you don't know anybody. But somebody says hello to you, you feel comfortable. What Jesus was saying was, let the entire world be not strangers. This is what the Quran says. Know each other. And that is what pluralism from an Islamic point of view is. And of course, there are many verses, lakum dinakum waliyadin. That chapter of the Quran is always misunderstood by Muslims. The beauty of that, I teach that civil dialogue among people. What God tells us how to teach. I don't worship what you worship. You don't worship what I worship. Look at the beauty in this verse. It doesn't say, your worship is inferior to me. You are not up to the mark. It says you're putting both of us on equal pedestals. In every 6 of the verse, it says what you do, that at the end it says, to you is your religion. To me, I extend that by, your mother is dear to you, my mother is dear to me. Let's accept that. So there are many other verses about pluralism in the Quran. And the other verse.
The very important thing is Sahifat al-Medina, which is the Medina Charter. And yes, that is actually federal system and giving freedom to all, defining ummah. First, it defined a smaller ummah with the Muslims and all that. But then greater ummah is anyone who was living within the geographical boundary of Medina, the pagans. And that's what Dr. Kaskas was telling also, that it defines the ummah or the nationhood or the community. The citizenship is whoever lives within that place, and they have religious freedom, they have freedom of speech, freedom of lifestyle. There comes with responsibility of law and order, common responsibility of defense, and all these things. And Aziza al-Hibri is a constitutional expert. And there are others also who says that there are amazing similarities between the Charter of Medina and the one that the Constitution of the United States that was framed 11 centuries later. On the fundamental level, that was written, and by the way, it was the first written constitution, written rule of law, you may say, in history that we know, in history, that is the first written constitution. And so fundamentally, there are a lot of things that are similar. And then there are also historians who are finding why there are similarities between these two. The Muslim Americans must be aware and appreciate and understand the legacy of that, because that will bring the spirit of pluralism and spirit of working in a society where the vast majorities are not Muslim. And yet you can make huge difference.
Now, what you both just defined about pluralism in Islam makes me think that early Muslim societies were more pluralistic than American societies were. Now, and I mean, when you look at the foundation of the founding fathers, when you look at the foundation of the American Constitution, despite warts and all, you do see an emphasis on pluralism and an emphasis of people coming from many different countries, many different faith perspectives, many different backgrounds for the benefit of America as a whole. Even the concept of liberty and justice for all, regardless of the elephant in the room of the three-fifths compromise, regardless of many of the issues regarding vote for women, the foundation of much of American democracy was pluralistic in nature, and the founding fathers were advanced free thinkers for their time. Do I think that we're embodying the same principles nowadays? Hard to tell. We're a diverse society. We are a melting pot. Do we really listen to and accept one another's perspectives? Hard to tell. What do you both think we can do in terms of making sure that in addition to being diverse, that we're a pluralistic society?
Matt, part of the pluralism definition is if we can learn to respect the otherness of the other and accept the God-given uniqueness to each one of us, conflicts fade and solutions emerge. You are who you are. I am who I am. And that is the basis of that. This is the first document, Medina Declaration, is the first actually pluralistic governing constitution. And I'm proud to say India has adapted the almost identical constitution like Medina, because in India, Muslims have their own rules they can live by. Hindus have their own laws. Christians, the criminal laws are common to all, but religious laws are different for each one. Like in the Medina Constitution, Jews exercised their community justice by their own rules, as Christians did and the Zoroastrians did. So that is a beautiful thing about Medina Constitution. I think we need to highlight that talk. I know there is a book written by one of our friends who is a common friend of both Safi and I. There is a good book about this thing, about Medina Constitution. I'm trying to think. He was a former congressman. So we need to highlight on this. We need to train our kids, the future generations. We send them to Medina. By the way, I'm writing a book on called Islamic Values, how justice, honesty, humbleness, all these values contribute to the well-being of the society at large. As Rabbul Alameen, as we say, Allah is Rabbul Alameen, Muhammad is Rahmatul Alameen. We should become Makhluqul Alameen. We are creatures for the entire humanity. Our role is to create peace for all. So I think if you can inculcate these values, that book is going to come out in a few months. And I think many of the imams that I'm part of, they want to teach that in the masajids, and hopefully it will become a teaching course for students in colleges.
Do you think the American Muslim community has the bandwidth to appreciate opposing perspectives? Just playing devil's advocate here. We always talk about how Zoomers or young people 18 to 29 are far less open-minded than expected in modern polls, like their views on gender rights, their views on racism are uh, slightly worse than millennials were. At least that's what we're hearing. I worry that we might see the same stuff with American Muslims or with Western Muslims. I watch podcasts from Muhammad Hijab or Andrew Tate, and I'm a little worried that we're seeing the same problems with previous generations just repeated over again. Is there what can we do in the American Muslim community to embody appreciation of diversity more?
Two things. I wrote an article called "What is Progressive Islam?" I sent that to everybody. In that, about gender acceptance is also there, and I sent it to about 5,000 people on my list, and we had many said this is the way to go forward. This is the way to go forward. There was only one who cursed me to hell. All others were appreciative of that. And the kids that I'm talking to, they have no problems with being gays, with the gays and lesbians. Not at all. They have, almost everyone has friends who are gays and lesbians. I'm talking about Muslim kids getting married. So they are more intermingling with Americans. They look to the fellow American as an American rather than gay or lesbian, Muslim, Hindu, or Christian. They're looking to them as somebody they can work with, somebody they can have a cup of coffee with, and somebody they can commute on their train, go to vacation. This is the new generation of Muslim Americans. Are those Americans who are not going to madrasas, going to the masajids, who are brainwashed not to mingle with other people.
But do you think that is the majority right now in the Muslim community, American Muslims, among American Muslims? Do you think that kind of inhibition or rigidity is still there, and it is transforming to the next generation? Or next generation is fighting back? What do you think?
It's still there to a small extent. I have spoken to 600 families over the last 15 years about their children, about interfaith marriages, and they always bring up about this gender thing. And some of them, they do not accept. They talk about God is going to punish them. I say, okay, let God punish them. Why should you and I worry about it? We have to learn to know each other or the Quran. And our kids have no problems with the gender thing. I would say majority among the second generation. Our generation are stuck. Matthew, I'm not talking about you. You are a different generation. I'm talking about my older generation. We are all stuck. We are very stuck. One of our ambassadors, Muslim ambassadors, when in our meetings we had, he had difficulty say accepting gays and lesbians, and he's in public service.
So I mean, I would like to emphasize few things about, Islam, because unless and until we really bring this to the center of in the consciousness of the Muslim community, and unless and until the Muslim community in general are united and supportive of the younger generation coming to politics, I think you will see the barriers there. That's the real barriers are the cultural barriers, the family barriers, the barriers that you don't go in this, then you will not be a good Muslim and all that. And you will have to make a lot of compromises, and you have to work with non-Muslims and all these, the dress codes and stuff like that. But I think that the workshop that I was talking about is to actually precisely talking about what Quran has said about pluralism. And there are some magnanimous universal concepts in Islam. For example, the one ever true religion for mankind is defined in Quran in Surah Rum in verse 30. And it says, God has empowered every human being with fitrat Allah. That means the nature, God-given nature or empowerment, that it can discern right from wrong and discern falsehood from, what is right and wrong and all that. So if you comply with that, that is the one ever true faith for mankind. That is what Quran is saying. And I see that is pivotal concept is not in the consciousness of the Muslim world. I mean, there is a line after that. It says most of the people do not know this pivotal concept of religion, deen. And it is true, in my life, I found out that most of the people that I met, even alims who call themselves knowledgeable, and the clergies and alims and all that, imams and all that, they are not very aware of this fundamental concept. But that's a universal definition, and that brings your pluralism right in the center, because you are not a judge, only God is judge. Your duty is to do good work with diversity. And there is a verse in Surah 548. Yes, Surah Maida, verse 48. And I think Dr. Kaskas was mentioning about that. I love that verse. It says, God's will is diversity. And the directive is that you work, you compete, or you cooperate in doing good work in this diversity. Means diversity of religion, diversity of culture, ethnicity, and race, and all that. And you participate. That is the spirit of pluralism. Until and unless the young generation understand this pluralism, the spirit of pluralism Quran is advocating, I think they are not going to be good citizens and good citizens of the world, good citizen of the United States, or good politicians and good leaders. And this is the essence of this thing, that, there are two verses, profound verses. One in Surah Baqarah in 62, and it was repeated 10 years later in Surah Maida in 69. And it says, be he a Jew, or be he a Christian, a Nasara, be he a believer of Prophet Muhammad, and any who believes in God, believes in hereafter, meaning eternal existence, and do good work in this life, is a righteous person.
It is. And in fact, I have written a full-blown article on it. I'll send it to you on 262. What God is saying is really, first of all, Quran is not for Muslims. It is a book of guidance for humanity, number one. Number two, what God is saying is that you don't have to wear a Muslim label to earn God's grace. If you do those three things you mentioned, that's all God is requiring you.
No, and you both make a good point as well, that regardless of what some angry podcaster thinks about liberal Muslims, both of you have on the ground experience working with the Muslim community, where you have found that people have very diverse views and perspectives. Mike, you worked with like 600 families, all of whom appear quite open-minded. Ruby, you've worked with many Muslim leaders over decades. You've encountered very open-minded perspectives among the leadership. So this concept that we're a conservative, crotchety bunch of people who are not open to change, that doesn't really seem correct when you really look at the full spectrum of people. Now, let's say that things move forward. Zohran wins the governorship of New York. Let's say he wins. And I don't think this is going to be like the Simpsons meme where we have a rainbow and everybody's saying kumbaya around the campfire. What comes next? Like what challenges do you think someone like Zohran would experience? What would be his next step? What do you think comes next afterwards?
He has got to continuously reach out to people, keep pounding on those values that are dear to the New Yorkers, and then he will have a strong bonding with them. If he stays away from it, he will lose them. He needs to keep pounding it, Matt. He needs to stay connected. I think he'll do it. He is a very smart guy.
What do you think, Ruby? Do you think, I mean, so like New York City is in many ways much different than the heartland of
Mhm.
America. Do you think a candidate like Zohran would do well in like rural Minnesota, like rural Iowa or Wisconsin? Like what do you think candidates with similar perspectives to Zohran uh, can do to win in Minnesota or Wisconsin? This question was for you, Ruby.
Eh, Shall I respond or
Yes.
may I respond?
Yes.
I think there need to be some adjustments. Fundamentally, I think that the recipe or the formula is the right one because it's based on the right values and the core American values, actually. That so whether it is in Minnesota or whether it is in New York or LA, but the middle part of the country is very conservative, and somebody has to take into account those things. There are little cultural, little modus operandi differences and all that, and also the conservative ness. So that adjustment has to go. This is a very big country, diverse country, and so maybe LA and New York is not representative totally of the entire United States. But I think what Mamdani is bringing is that if it is a pro-people, pro-justice, and pluralistic spirit, then anyone from any religion can be a good leader and American people will support him because they will have the trust and confidence in the person that he would be a good public servant and the public will be served better from him. So that is what Mamdani is carrying in his recipe, and that is the recipe that is applicable anywhere, I think, not only in the United States, but I would say anywhere in the world. I think if you can prove that you will be unwavering, you will be a good servant, and you will um, get and you earn the trust and confidence of your constituency, you are a leader and you are a winner. I mean, I don't think anybody can stop that. But I think what happens is in between, people started compromising. They think that, my God, we cannot survive without compromising. And compromising on principles, compromising in strategies is fine. You need to change your strategy time to time, and adjustments. But compromising in principles, people don't like. People don't trust people who compromise in that. So most important thing is gaining the trust and confidence of the constituency and becoming pro-people, pro-justice agenda, bring agenda, and stick to it and say, I'm not going to change on this, whatever happens. Mamdani is doing one thing. He's going to the billionaires, the corporations. He's speaking, he's talking to them, assuring them, but he's sticking to his main course. He's sticking to his fundamental agenda, and which is taxing the billionaires. And billionaires know that. But he's trying to comfort them and say, look, if we can create a better city, you will be also beneficiary of that. He has convinced many billionaires, many rich people about this. So this intelligent way of handling things, and also moral and dedicated way of, is the recipe of good leadership that cannot be replaced.
I agree with that, Ruby.
So in final question, I guess, is that I personally think that candidates like Zohran Mamdani can do a lot for foreign policy in the long run. And I know that he said if he's governor, he's going to only stay in New York City. And I agree with that while he's governor. But I think guys like Zohran in the long run could do a lot in terms of bridge building between America and the Muslim world and healing the long-standing fracture and divorce between America and the Muslim majority world. So, after Zohran is a successful governor, after he's looked at as the best governor since LaGuardia, the best governor since Mark.
Isn't he running for mayor?
As mayor, yes, we will edit that in the
okay.
in the edits.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a typo. Circle rewind. One of the most important things as part of our last question to discuss is whether or not Zohran Mamdani, as future mayor of New York, could do more after his position as mayor. If he has a bright and a promising future career, he could potentially do a lot in the field of study which made his dad famous. Mahmoud Mamdani is a famous anti-colonial and foreign policy scholar. Zohran Mamdani could potentially do a lot for foreign policy. And I know that he said as mayor of New York that he did not want to leave New York. I'm in favor of that. I don't want him to be working all over the place if he's mayor of one of the biggest cities in the United States. But he has a long career ahead of him. He's like, 33 years old? Guys like Mamdani could potentially do a lot for foreign policy. Specifically, he could do a lot to heal the fracture which has existed for decades between America and the Muslim world. What could Mamdani do in order to heal the divide between America and Muslim countries, in the opinion of both of you? Perhaps we'll start with Ruby.
I see Mike laughing, smiling.
So, Mike, what could Zohran Mamdani and candidates like him do to heal the divide between America and the Muslim world?
It gives a lot of confidence. The Muslim world are shy. I don't know what it is. They don't speak boldly. They're always shy about it. When they see that there is a Muslim who can speak correctly, boldly, and it will encourage them. And I think that will bring some relationship together. And I hope they start speaking boldly, like all the Arab nations. For example, the foreign policy, we're focusing mostly on Palestine and Israel. And they can start speaking boldly to America. They're afraid of something. What they're afraid is Israel is going to bomb the hell out of them. And as a result, they're not speaking. If you look at King Faisal in 1973, he did the oil embargo. It brought everybody to their knees. He had the guts, and nobody like that is there now. If some Zohran Mamdani can inspire them to have guts, in America, it's not a single person ever has said that I will not support Israel. I mean, he supports Israel, but not do what others are asking. And they can do it too. It will inspire them, and that will build a new form of relationship with boldness and openness. Right now, they are afraid of speaking a word against Israel, especially all the foreign policy, you can put that in Israel and Palestine. There's no other country in the world exists about foreign policy other than this two.
Mike, I have one area which I would like to share my idea with you is that Muslims, I found that they often react to Islamophobia. And I think what I observed in Mamdani is that he doesn't care about Islamophobia. He says, I'm an American and I am a New Yorker. I am going to do this, and I am a nightmare for Donald Trump.
I like
And
that.
I think that kind of assertiveness and reaction is not a part of leadership. The leadership is you are charting a new course and asserting yourself that what you are going to do. And I think I like to convey this message to the rest of the young generation Muslim Americans, because this program, I think I was thinking about talking, focusing only on the Muslim Americans. In other programs, we are talking about encouraging young generation Americans in general to come to politics and reclaim America. And that is right now is on the shoulder of the young generation. But today I'm talking about American Muslims, young generation Muslims. And I would like to tell them that you don't define yourself, underestimate yourself, and and uh, and create barrier against yourself to the potential that this society actually offers you. America is still a pluralistic society, an open society. And I think it is going to, my feeling is that maybe it will go worse a little bit before it will get better. But I think it is a self-correcting society. I think this is an opportunity for Muslim Americans to step forward and say, I'm going to do something about it. And they are going to be, they will have phenomenal successes, I think.
No, and you both bring up a really good point, which is that the previous American golden era of foreign policy was an era characterized from these signature moments where a striking leader of a foreign country had a very penetrating and interesting interaction with a leader in America. You had brought up King Faisal, but I can think of other kind of more positive events, like, for example, Nixon entering China, like, for instance, Bill Clinton smiling around a round table with foreign governments from Eastern Europe or Latin America or the Middle East. Whether or not those totally fixed the situation in those countries was problematic. But the point is that they were these signature moments where America revealed itself as trying to be a force for good. And when I see a guy like Mamdani, like, wouldn't it be cool to see him like shaking hands and laughing with Lula from Brazil or Claudia Sheinbaum from Mexico? But wouldn't it be cool to see him on a Zoom with Imran Khan? Like, and I'm not saying he should do this while he's mayor of New York, but and I'm not saying it even needs to be Mamdani, but we don't really have those moments anymore where America is kind of like the light of the world, uh, like what can we do to inspire those like light of the world moments? Like, what can America do?
I think Mamdani, uh, as you predicted, he eventually will become Secretary of the State to affect weather change. He has got that thing in his mind. He wants to fix problems. That's his nature. And I think he will do that.
I think another thing is that he is very conversant with the American history, Mamdani. And he was talking about, and I see a parallel between the 1936 speech of FDR, Roosevelt. And that was absolutely declaring a war against the elites, that were responsible for bringing the country to that level. And he said, I'm going to fight you. And that kind of talk never happened before that. Even Woodrow Wilson was not that bold and that courageous and that challenging in saying, I'm going to fight you. And the elites always had actually threatening position because elites controlled business, elites controlled oftentimes media, politics, alliances and different alliances they have, and all these influences. So every politician actually is concerned about the elites, but he said, I'm going to fight you. And Mamdani understood that language. And American people, the next election, they voted, and I'm talking about FDR, got a landslide victory after that speech. And Mamdani, you took that same line and same spirit. I think he's going to get a landslide too. Because my feeling is that American people, there is a DNA in American people in supporting courage, supporting moral stand, moral voice, and dedication. I think American people like that. For example, I can go back in history and I can mention few things. It's important; those things needs to be remembered and carried forward in among the American young generation Americans. Is that Woodrow Wilson, when he declared 14 points, was a radical change. It was a revolutionary idea. First, a powerful country is saying that America is going to be a law-abiding member of the international community. And the difficulties and the conflicts and issues will be decided by the League of Nations. He used the term Association of Nations of the world that will come together, form an international organization like the UN or League of Nations, and that will be a dictating force. And he was very smart and intelligent and visionary and moral too. And he saw that by doing that, he's creating a world that is stable, that will be conducive to sustain peace and stability, and that will be directly beneficial to the American national interest, because America was the largest market, became the largest market by that time, the most powerful country, and it needs a world that is stable and prosperous. I don't understand that how come all these leaders since Kennedy forward have kind of lost that vision, lost that spirit. How come? This I do not understand.
I mean, if I can be permitted to say something, like I don't think we've lost it. I just think there are a few loud voices that are trying to hide it nowadays. I mean, as you were saying, I think Zohran is very much embodying the vision of FDR and Woodrow Wilson and taking it in a fun new direction. And I think there are quite a few Democratic leaders that had attempted to embody that vision in the past, even if they got distracted a few years later. I think many had hoped Obama would embody that vision. I think Bill Clinton had tried to embody that vision. I think even George W. Bush with PEPFAR and AIDS, I think, was trying to embody that vision. So I think it's there. I just think nowadays there are special interests that are trying to drown it out. You know, like for instance, with Israel, that's trying to go out in a blaze of glory and drag America down with it. But I think it's still there.
Good. I forgot to mention one thing, Matthew and Mike, is that his program agenda, or his agenda was supported by the American public overwhelmingly.
Who was it?
Woodrow Wilson's 14
Yeah,
points
yeah,
was supported by the American public overwhelmingly. And that is why when he actually entered the war, I mean, when he called for volunteers, 5 million Americans volunteered in the war, in the First World War, not to fight the war. See, Woodrow Wilson said, peace without victory. So Germany was very impressed with that vision. He outside declared peace without victory. That means you lay down the arm and we lay down the arm. And it's not victory we are seeking in the war. It's a phenomenal statement.
it is. It
That
is.
kind of, you know, so, but the people, American people supported him. That is what I'm saying. Again, in 1960s and early 70s, that China policy, detente, American public supported that. So constructive agenda or policies, American public supports that.
Yes.
So I think that is in their goes with the core national value or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I'm done for today.
Me too.
So I think we have enough content to have a fantastic hour.